Welcome to the Budapest Psychic with Reverend Maria D'Andrea. I'm your co-host Mimi. On each episode, we're going to dive deep into the inner workings of our reality, where intuition, energy, and the paranormal converge in one powerful experience, lighting your path to greater achievement and life purpose. Born in Budapest, Hungary, Maria is an experienced professional in the spiritual, psychic, paranormal fields, and an author and public speaker. Maria's classes accommodates each person, whether you are a beginner or an advanced student. On this episode, Maria explores the element of water, intuition, emotion, and transformation, guided by the mystical beings that dwell within its depths. Before we take that plunge, though, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Isten hozott, or welcome in Hungarian. Today we're talking about the element of water. We all work with mystics and magic and all different levels, rituals and science, because everything connects in some form to the element of water and the other elements. But when you're dealing with water, it connects to your emotions on a metaphysical level, which means if we're trying to manifest something and we're working with emotions, okay, we usually have water near us on some level. It doesn't matter if it's a lake, it's an ocean, if it's a glass of water. Water is water. We always connect on some level if we're consciously working with it. Now, when we're working with water, we're working with the currents of energy, and everything flows, all the currents, and we're actually matching the flow of water on an etheric level. So it's more that we go into that realm because we do go out of body, we're working different ways. And basically what we're doing is we're tuning into that energy. Okay. Even consciously when we're manifesting, and I will show you a method later, when we're manifesting, okay, we connect to water on an etheric plane, a mental, emotional, physical, all the levels to be able to manifest. And of course, you have to put your emotions into it. Okay. And all cultures have worked with this for centuries. It isn't something new. It's not mine, but it is a way that we can tap into nature and to work with it to create positive things in our lives. So as an example, we use symbols. So for emotions, which again is water, we're using psychic abilities, our actual emotions to tap into it. And everything is cyclical. It goes in cycles. And all we're doing is we're matching the energies and the flow of nature. It's not that we're controlling it. People always think when we're working with water, especially because it moves, they look at it as we are controlling the movement of the energy flow so that we can work on something metaphysically to create positive things in our lives, to attract positive to us or to attract positive to other people to help them out. It really isn't like that. We're not controlling nature. Nature is flowing the way it normally does. All we do is we step into the current, we step into the stream. So we're matching our energy to the energy of the water that we're using. One of the things we use to represent water on a symbolic level, especially with doing anything metaphysical, paranormal, with magic, what we do is we use symbols to represent what we're working on. So as an example, we use cups because cups hold water, cups, glasses, cauldrons. So it's a symbolic gesture that this is what we're dealing with. What the cup represents is being receptive to ideas, to thoughts, emotionally, mentally. We're receptive to getting new ideas for business. People always think it's just emotions, and it is connected to that, but it also connects to the flow of ideas and wisdom. So it really represents wisdom. So if you're trying to learn something, if you're trying to gain knowledge, it's really funny. If you get a glass of water and you put it near you when you're studying or trying to learn something, and before you do that, you focus emotionally and mentally, you focus your intent on, you want to be able to study easier and remember longer. Okay, and you have a water near you, what you're going to do is focus your vision physically looking at the water when you're focusing on your intent, and it will actually heighten those abilities. It doesn't mean you don't have to study, but it will help you remember later. Also, one of the symbols happens to be a fish, and a fish represents fertility, change, and flow. So if you want anything in your life to flow easier, I had a very nice gentleman, and he was having a problem with a neighbor, and he just wanted to get along. He didn't want to cause a problem. He just wanted to get along. Basically, he didn't want somebody arguing with him over, the grass isn't mowed. No, it isn't mowed. Sorry. He said correctly. You can't make this stuff up, right? So what he wanted to do was he wanted it to change and to flow better emotionally with the person that's actually an adversary for no reason over silly things. And he was focused on putting his intent into a glass of water. And he kept saying, we get along easily, effortlessly, and with the name of the person. And we always get along easily, effortlessly, we're in sync. And eventually, the guy started leaving him alone. Now, the funny part is they never became friends. He didn't want to be friends, so we're good. But it became so that it was less argumentative. The guy started being busy in his own life with other things in a positive way. We don't cause negative. Yeah. And after a while, the guy just left him alone. Now, the funny part, for lack of a better term, is he picked on another neighbor, so we didn't change him. He was still argumentative, but at least he wasn't argumentative with this guy. When you think of seashells, that's another symbol. And seashells represent on the etheric plane protection. Because when you think of a seashell, especially like the conches, when you think of the ones that are closed in, when you think of them, it's like the shell is protecting whatever's inside. We're really looking at protecting ourselves, protecting our home, protecting friends and other people. And you're really using the shell representing it. It's symbolic magic. And when you're thinking of it like that, it also includes the mysteries of a shell. When you look at the patterns on a shell, you ever look at them at the beach, or sometimes they sell them at the beach stores or just stores, and they have all these little patterns on them. And sometimes it just actually, when it's circular, it just kind of pulls you in. So it actually triggers psychic information. So you can use that for protection, or just when you're working with a mystery school, because I have a mystery school. So when we're working at that level, sometimes you need something as a trigger. It's a very good trigger for that. And the other part with the shell is that you can use that as jewelry. I'm sure, especially women have noticed. You have earrings, you have necklaces. Some of the guys, especially in the warmer states like Florida, California, they have the necklaces with the shells. You're actually wearing protection on the psychic spiritual level. Now, to activate it, you really need to just hold it in your hand and focus on your intent being that every time it's near you, not even that you have to wear it, but anytime it's near you, it's going to send out protection energy for you. Okay. Now, if you have other people that wear it, like you have sisters, daughters, people you're going to give it to, you can always focus in your energy into it's protecting whoever it is near or whoever's wearing it. So we have a lot of sneaky little ways to move things in. And again, with the water, we're just blending into the energy of the water. And it's actually science how much we use the water element. So as an example, when you think of science, we use it as a conduit, which means when you're using generators as an example, when you think of Niagara Falls, all that water flowing in, they actually use that on the electrical level. So it's science. It's not just shamanic and us manifesting. On the psychic level, it helps us tune in because water is a flow level. So when we're working on learning how to use psychic energy as an example, we can actually tune into water a little bit, have water near us, and it will actually pick that up. You can use that before you go to sleep. By the way, we do dream work. So sometimes, as symbols especially, we have dreams that give us information. If you put a glass of water near you and you drink half the glass before you go to sleep, once you're in bed, and you focus on information that you need or want to know, you go to sleep. And within the first couple of nights, you should have a dream that actually gives you your answer. So you're going to go to sleep focused on the question. And when you wake up in the morning, you drink the second half and finish the glass of water because you're still tuning in overnight because your energy psychically is everywhere. Your body is asleep, but your psychic energy, your spirit isn't. Your spirit never sleeps. So you're always tuning in. And now you're putting that energy also in the water because it is near you. So sometimes we use little shortcuts to get to move on things, but helps the psychic levels. We also use it for scrying. So scrying means we're looking into a crystal ball as an example, or we're looking into water. That could be a glass of water, a bowl, doesn't matter what you put it into. And what you do is you take 3 very, very slow deep breaths. You drop your shoulders so you're relaxed enough to tune in. And when you stare into that water, eventually, same as the crystal ball, you will start seeing things. Now, the first time that ever happened to me, it was really funny. I was in my teens and I was putting water into the tub with the bubbles, and I had bubbles all over, and I was checking the bubbles and the water. Before you get in, you kind of go, oh, let's make sure it's not ice cold or super hot. And as I'm bending over the tub to look, he had all these pretty little bubbles. And I started seeing people moving in one of the bubbles. And it was so interesting. It wasn't scary. First, I thought there's something wrong with me. Because, teenage, you kind of go, oh, uh-oh. But I was staring at it, and it was actually houses and people moving around. It was really interesting. And then after a while, the bubble dispersed. I was very disappointed. So then I did it again, and I could see different things going on in different bubbles. And then it didn't happen again for about another month. I was like, okay, never mind. But if you focus on it and you don't change your vision, because after the first time, I kept looking at one bubble, then nothing happened immediately because teenage, no patience. I would look at the next one, but because I kept switching, it really didn't come up. You have to have your focus and really stare at it. The same thing with crystal ball. It's reflective the same way. So if you're looking into that, you're going to start seeing information. Another thing that you can do, which I find very interesting because we're self-programming. And when you're using water, it's really holding vibration and energy. And because we connect on that level, that's why we're able to program it. So what you would do is you get a piece of paper. You need white paper to keep it positive, black ink for power, because we only do positive. And what you're going to do is on a piece of paper, you're going to write down whatever you're trying to manifest, whatever you're working on. What do you want coming into your life at this point or down the road? And you're going to focus on that and you're going to write that down. And then you're going to get a glass of water. Now, sometimes if you think about this, if nobody's around, nobody's going to question what you're doing. Okay? You can get a pitcher of water and you're going to put the paper underneath it. And you have to leave it for 48 hours for the water to connect to what you wrote on the paper because you're sinking in. So you leave it for 48 hours. And after the 48 hours, every time you drink some of that water, you're manifesting on a heavier level. You never have to think about it again. What you're going to do is you drink the water, and the water that you're drinking matches and meshes with the energy inside your physical body because we're made up of so much water. And because it's meshing and it's blending, okay, you become what you're manifesting. So when your time is almost up with the 48 hours, okay, just refocus a little bit for a minute. Now, you do not want to put the water into the refrigerator for the 48 hours because it creates a different energy flow. What you're going to do is leave it on a counter, your bedside, doesn't matter where, for the 48 hours. After that, it's already part of the energy of the water. Now you can put it in the refrigerator. So you can put a glass in. A lot of times, if I'm working on something, I'll just do a pitcher because I don't want to redo a glass every single time, since you have to leave it for so long to actually mesh. Now, if you don't leave it for that long, it doesn't mean it won't work at all, but it's on such a lighter level. You may as well just do the 48 hours. And on the physical level, like I said, it's a conduit. So with electronic things, as an example, you send waves through that if you're holding it. Don't put it on anything electronic because we don't want to get zapped. And when you're working with an altar, some people work with altars. When you're doing that, you can just take the water and leave it on that and just drink it on and off whenever you feel like it. Spiritually, on the shamanic path, we use all the elements: earth, air, fire, water, ether. By the way, we are ether, we are energy. And when we're working on any of the levels, it has to fit your intent. So the reason for the water is anything you're working on to increase your psychic abilities, intuition, same thing, gut feeling, same thing. They're all synonyms. So it will actually start heightening your ability. It's also very good for any emotional reasons. Say you want to be in sync more with family. It would be nice sometimes if you have a friend and they were argumentative, that they would just stop arguing. We used to be able to have discussions with people where you had different points of view. You would listen to one person and not say anything. Then you would listen to the other person, and then they would listen to you without interrupting, which really doesn't happen anymore. Wishful thinking, right? So we give everybody the space. And then at the end, we can look at each other and go, nope, and go on our way. Doesn't mean we're agreeing, but we're open to listening. And I've actually listened to people where they were talking about something, and I realized that they were more knowledgeable than me. And I changed something. By the way, it's funny, it was a recipe, and I went, oh, I could tweak that because they had a really good idea. So you never know. But anything emotional or psychic is really where um, this changes your levels. And I was trying to think of a way to phrase this. The best way I can say it is we're creating patterns. And when you're looking at different patterns, as an example, you have to remember that everything in the universe has energy lines. So what we're doing is we're connecting with the lines and the energy flow of water. Water always goes like this. And it's funny, when people talk to me, sometimes they go, well, I was at a lake and nothing was moving, which is fine. But underneath the water, the top part of it, which may look like it's not moving, it's still moving under the water. You have fish, you have different little things in the water that are moving the water as they move through it. And water's always flowing. We may not see it as much unless it's windy or unless you're by the ocean, but everything is always in motion, including us. And I think I mentioned a while ago that if you look at a table, it looks like it's solid, but it's not. That's all moving because the molecules and the energy within it, it's always in motion. Ceremonial magic, which is something that we actually do use, is really meant to purify your spirit, your soul, your thoughts. So if you're having a really bad day, and sometimes when we're having a bad day, it really isn't us. It's part of society. You had a bad day at work because you were in a good mood when you went, but then you had people that were annoying or not that good on your job, and you're going to go home, you're going to be tired, you're going to be stressed, you have all this energy that you really don't want, and you were fine in the morning when you left. So you can use purifying energy in a way of ceremonies, or just focusing. If you already made the pitcher of water, drink that. It's going to help. And it opens gates. The water will actually open gates in different ways. It opens gates within yourself, if you're trying to learn more about yourself, as an example. Sometimes we meditate, sometimes we're looking at information that's more direct about us. We want to know why somebody keeps aggravating us. And I always laugh because a lot of people, they go inward. They go, what did I do to cause this person to constantly be negative towards me emotionally? What you have to look at, and I just find it amusing, what you have to look at is nobody else is being annoying with you, just that one person. Sometimes we have to step back and go, no, it really isn't me. It's that person. It's not always us triggering it. Society has now come to the point that everything is our fault. No, it isn't. If you think of the river Styx, which was a Greek outlook, basically you're back to water. Okay, you have to pay the person to carry you on their little ship, their boat. You have to carry them to the other side. It's really from death to life to rebirth. So it's carrying you to the next level after you pass away. It really is used for portals. Now, I was trying to think of a good way to say this. The best way I can explain it, because we use portals on the magic side pretty frequently. It depends on what we're doing. And people always think that we're actually going through a physical portal. No, we're not. What happens is your astral form, because we go into different areas when we're awake consciously, to leave our bodies and to work on things for magic, for ourselves, for friends, for others. Some of the work we do is really out of body. So we have portals that we use that are water. So say you're looking at a lake, nobody's around you, you're going to be by yourself for a long time. Okay? You're going to look at the water and you're going to say, you're opening a portal in a positive way. And don't forget, we always use some form of psychic self-defense. So you're going to open a portal and you're going to mentally think of your astral body going through the portal to a destination. By the way, you can also use that if you're meditating. Just visualize a portal and visualize it through water. Again, emotion, psychic, more along those levels. Purification. So for especially those reasons, you visualize yourself going through the portal to learn something you need to know, especially along the level of emotions. So you can do that as an example for somebody that passed away. You really miss them. You'd like to see them. Okay. Again, self-defense first. But when you do that, you're not actually connecting to the person because you're not doing it from that level. What you're connecting to is a vision of feeling that they're okay, or psychically seeing that they're okay through the portal that you mentally placed in the water. That can be a lake, it could be your sink. Water is water. It can be a really big bowl of water. You just need that as a focal point. But you're thinking of your astral body going through the portal into the water and coming out on the other side, which means you're still in water, by the way. Like if you're in an ocean and you're going through a portal into the ocean, you're still going to be in the ocean, but now you're going to see different things. It's the same as having a conscious dream while you're awake. Okay? And a lot of times in your dream state, you're going to see different things. So you can ask for a water symbol as an example before you go to sleep and ask, what do I need to work on? Or what do I need to know? Especially if you're doing the glass of water where you drink half of it before you go to sleep. And you're going to have a dream that gives you that type of an information because you're going through a portal before you go to sleep. You're focused on that, or you're doing the glass one. The water glass is the easiest one you can use. It may take more than one night, depending on what information you're looking for. And when you're doing something like a purifying ritual, which gets complicated, then you can use one of the elements, two of the elements, all of the elements. But what you want to remember at all times is you are one of the elements, you're ether. And our spirit, our energy is totally non-limited. And when you're thinking of a portal as an example, okay, it's your spirit body going through it. I met this very, very lovely, lovely lady as a student, and she was having a hard time focusing on seeing a portal, a doorway. And she kept thinking she really wants to have a doorway to go through to meditate. She was using that as an anchor. And she called me up one day and she said her husband built a portal for her. And I went, what? So what she did was she had him build like a little doorway. Okay, just the frame of a door. And she could put it outside because he put it so that it had a stand on the bottom. And she could put it outside. She could put it in one of her rooms when nobody was home and she was working on things. And mentally, to get focused, she actually relaxed. And then she took a couple of steps through the doorway to the other side of the room or outside. And then she could get really focused on meditating or closing her eyes and focusing on now she's in a portal. So it's funny when you think of different triggers that are going to help you with that. With interdimensional beings, they're all different ones. So we have planets that are considered just water, made up of water, molecules, energy, nothing solid. So when we do something astral, like we're going out of body, we see all different planets, we go to different places, and it's a shamanic or a magical way to deal. And there are actual planets that are all water. And then you see little water beings in it. It's just very interesting. Now, over here, we have different water beings. We have, let's see, we have merfolk. So we have kind of male and female mermaids. We actually have them. Now, a lot of times we see them etherically, not necessarily physically. But we do have those. We have all different creatures, and they represent anything with water represents wisdom. So when we're working with the energies of water beings, okay, we're seeing that. If we're going out of body, different realms, because remember, we have all different realms at the same time. It's not just our planet physical, and when you pass, there's a different realm. There's a lot of other realms. So you do have different beings made out of water energy. And it's really interesting because it's all frequency and they kind of shift and they flow. It's just very interesting. They're a little bit more fluid, less solid. Now, we also have water fairies. Water fairies are considered guardians of the water element, which means they will guard the lakes, they will guard oceans. When you go to a waterfall, it's really funny if you're looking at it from a psychic point of view. When you go to a waterfall and you look basically a little bit next to the edge of the waterfall, okay, and you're looking at the rocks behind it, a lot of times for a split second, people will see like little balls of white light. And they've actually said to me they thought they were staring at the water too long and the vision got fuzzy. It's like, no, little balls of white light, energy beings. Sometimes we see them, sometimes we won't, but they're really water fairies, and they're there to negotiate the water flow. They actually help the flow stay within a certain range, to work better, not to dissipate, anything that they can help the water energy and the magnetic force, because it has a magnetic force, with it does. Now, you also have water dragons, okay, on the etheric plane, and they are there to protect the water, and they're usually found in the depths, in deep, deep water, oceans, as an example, different parts of the ocean. And they're actually considered water dragons because their whole job is to make sure that everything flows. If you have a place in the depths of the ocean that gets bottled up, they will open it up. Sometimes it needs to be bottled up. It depends on the situation, but they will make sure that everything flows. So sometimes you will actually see a water dragon, and sometimes a water dragon, you can actually see them etherically, where they're not always in the water. Okay? So sometimes you will see a water dragon in the sky. Okay? And it's funny, it's like they're checking out their realm and they're saying, okay, I have to get back to the water. Is there something I should be noticing that I didn't notice from the depths? And if you look at a lot of cultures, especially on the magical side, okay, you will notice they'll talk about water dragons or fire dragons or different different ones. And this is what their jobs are, especially in the depths of the water. So you have different fairies, different elemental spirits that actually help with the water flow. Now, I find when I talk to some clients, they tell me stories that actually happened to them that are just interesting. And one of my clients was saying he works with generators that are connected to the waterfalls, in some other state. I'm in New York, he's in a different state. And he was saying that it was really funny because every now and then the generator would just stop for no reason. Still had the waterfall. It didn't make any sense to him. And he started looking at it psychically, and it kept starting to say, show me what the problem is. And he's talking about the generator, not the water. Right? But he kept saying, show me what the problem was. Looking at the water, going back and forth visually, looking at the two, trying to logically figure it out. All of a sudden, he intuitively felt that the generator was at the wrong distance to work correctly for the size of the generator. So he moved it over to where he visually, on a psychic level, saw that it should be, and it worked fine. So water can be a trigger. And it was really funny because he said logically, he would have never thought of that because he thought he had the perfect distance measuring.
I have a question, and I have a feeling I probably know the answer to this one. When there are like storms and tsunamis and things of that nature, I mean, are they these spirits, are they just allowing it to happen instead of like conducting the flow as opposed to, making sure that nobody gets hurt and it doesn't overflow? I mean, is it that they feel that or sense that we as beings, we're learning, we're gaining an experience and they have to let it come out that way and just let it happen?
Gee, that's a really good question because we have two different things going on. When you get tsunamis, there are there are water beings in there. They're actually part of it, okay, which means they're working with it. They're not always directing it a little bit, but basically they're working with that energy because it's part of their path. Let me put it that way. So they can direct it to move away from the town a lot of times, not all the time, but sometimes when there's a reason for it that we don't understand, there's actually a reason where it needs to happen, they will not be able to control it. It could be a karmic situation, as an example. Okay? So in those situations, not only can they not control it, it's like a little water being going, not our fault. I think we're going to step outside now and just watch. So what happens is when they can, they do try to help. Don't forget, you also have spirit beings helping form that, that chaos. And if there's a reason for it, there's nothing they're going to do. And honestly, they don't want to. They know when there's a reason to do something or not. That's like little things like with us. We're standing on the platform where there's a train. We see the train coming. And we kind of go, no, we're not going to stop this train. We're going to stay on the platform. It's a little bit like that. I couldn't think of another analogy, but it's a little like that. If they can help, they will. Okay. But when they can't, they don't even try because they can feel the purpose of it, not necessarily the exact purpose, but they can feel that there's a purpose to it. And a lot of times it really is a karmic situation. Now, it could be a situation that affects one person or a couple of people, a group of people, a town, a city. So that's a whole other formula to look at. But basically, what's happening is that when they can help, they really do. They're, I don't want to say all of them are positive. It's like people. Everybody isn't positive. But the majority of the elemental spirits, all of them are positive. Earth, air, fire, water, ether. But you always have like little renegade groups, for lack of a better term. You always have like one or two that are just going to mess with you. Sometimes they think it's funny. But my suggestion to everybody is try the techniques that I mentioned earlier. And if you want to, let me know how they work. Give it a little time because sometimes it doesn't work the first time, sometimes it does. It depends on what the information is. And sometimes it's just practice like everything else. So thank you for joining us today, and may God bless you abundantly.
Join us for more fascinating shows with the Budapest Psychic as we bring more stimulating content. Don't forget to stop by for our next show on Energy Streams, Mother Nature's Party Lines. Please like, share, and subscribe to get these shows to other like-minded seekers. For anyone looking for further information on Maria's services, including her classes, contact her using any of these methods. We'll see you next time on the Budapest Psychic.